Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Trial by Stone, the Dark Crystal podcast. I'm your host, Sydney, and thank you so very much for listening today or for watching if you're on YouTube with us. And today I have a very special, very different guest I'm super excited about. We have depending on what circle of the internet you usually hang out at, you know her as OopsyDaisy ASMR, otherwise known as Haley in the real world.
Yay.
So Haley, very nice to have you on our show. I'm so excited. She's also a listener of our podcast as well.
Yes.
So how are you today?
For having me. I'm good, thank you. I'm a bit nervous, but it's fine.
I was gonna say it's a lot like actually talking to Deet. Your role play of Deet is you have her voice so accurately, but now that I'm speaking to you as you, you have a very similar tonal quality to Deet, and so I think a lot of listeners are gonna sort of picture me talking to Deet right now, and that's kind of
would be
cool.
adorable.
Yeah, very similar energy. For any listeners who don't know, Haley actually is an ASM artist. She runs an awesome, highly immersive ASMR channel on YouTube where she has recently done a series of videos that are all inspired by the 7 Gelfling clans. And she has actually portrayed some of our beloved characters in her videos, as well as created some of her own. So a lot of our listeners, might be familiar with what ASMR is, and some might not be. So could you give like a little brief overview for any unfamiliar listeners, sort of what you do? What is your channel? What is the purpose of ASMR? Just sort of little summary of it, because I, as everyone knows, tend to get a little rambly, and I'll veer off into nerd territory and talk for an hour about it. So how would you describe it to anybody who's not sure?
I'd say for someone watching it the first time, it might be a bit weird. I fall into the category of making roleplay videos. So I would be talking to the viewer and, making it very soft-spoken or whispered, basically creating a scenario that's somewhat intimate, but not like in a, not in a weird way.
Not in an appropriate way. I mean, there are circles of the internet that go in that direction, but that's definitely not your vibe.
No, definitely not. I mean, like, I guess everything can be turned into that, but no, my stuff kind of focuses on mostly fantasy. I think I've only done maybe 2 videos that are outside of the fantasy realm.
Yeah, a lot of fantasy, a lot of sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly. And I basically make things that just try to help people fall asleep. I know I started watching the videos because I think 7 or 8 years ago, I was looking at videos to help me fall asleep because of anxiety and that kind of thing. And I found these roleplay videos and I was like, why is this person pretending to put makeup on me or whatever it was? And I saw other people do it with characters from I don't know, Sailor Moon and random stuff. And I was like, maybe I could do this. And then I decided I should. And then I did.
How long ago was that? How long have you been doing it?
I started posting videos in early 2018, but I became somewhat more regular early 2019. Okay. So 2 to 3 years.
So you're a fairly newish ASMR channel, all things considered, compared to a lot of the other
OGs.
Names that I think of. So, I was thinking because I sort of discovered you in the middle of 2019, actually. But, and I had seen a lot of your more popular videos, like the sci-fi ones and things like that. And because you were always suggested in thanks to the algorithm. And one of our
that's nice.
Which it worked out really well. And I think a lot of people get into the world of ASMR for very similar reasons to what you described, like needing help falling asleep because of anxiety. A lot of people get what we call a squirrel brain, where you can't turn your brain off. It's sort of running all over the place, and you just need to focus. And you know, there are so many like subgenres within the ASMR community, and the different, because it's not all role plays, it's not all based on the same thing. But so I found your channel specifically because I do really like those immersive, take you to another world sort of experiences. I mean, hey, I'm a Dark Crystal fan. That's kind of my entire brand, is being taken away to somewhere else. And would you say that is the same sort of genre that you were a viewer of before you started making the content yourself? Is that the kind of content you also enjoy watching?
Yeah, partially. I mean, I watch different kinds of videos for different reasons. Like there are some like just sounds videos, I guess, which I would have on while I'm like drawing something. Some videos I watch just for the plot of the story. So like if it's, I don't know, something like fantasy related, if it's in a specific world that I like watching, it really depends. Like I do watch the regular like medical type videos because I just find them very relaxing, because it kind of reminds me of like being in a real life situation like that, because I know a lot of people get that when they go to the doctors or like a hairdresser's, your hair or whatever,
their makeup done, things like that.
I don't know, I feel like it's always been a wish of mine to have like a creative outlet, but I didn't really know how to. Well, I've always been drawing and stuff, but I always wanted to make stuff that was very immersive, but I didn't know what platform to pick or what to do.
Well, that
so
that kind of leads into what else I was going to ask about, which is, do you have any sort of, before you got into creating these types of videos, do you have a background in things like acting or art or filmmaking? Like what was your path before you discovered this one, and is it at all connected in any way?
I mean, I never did any acting, sadly, because it was just not offered at school, and any other acting classes are quite expensive.
Yes, they are.
But yeah, well, I still am a graphic designer. So that's what I studied beforehand. I've always been drawing like all the time. Ever since I can remember. And as for filmmaking, I used to, when I was like 13, 14, my dad bought me like a small video camera, and I would often film my friends, and we would do stupid sketches and whatnot. And I would edit like on Windows Movie Maker back then. Cool. I would edit these like fan videos of things like Kingdom Hearts, and then ship certain characters. And make like shipping videos.
That's awesome.
I mean that's obviously nothing like professional, but it kind of
but it's
that way. Yeah,
it shaped your interests and set the tone for the kinds of things you like to do. So you would consider yourself more of a visual artist than so doing like drawing and
I never know what to call myself because I still like part-time do like logos for people and stuff, but
nice.
But I definitely prefer doing stuff for YouTube and for Twitch and whatnot, because it gives me more of a freedom to just make what's inside my head, because sometimes I can't draw what I'm thinking of, and then I would rather, I also bought some
exactly. Make it real, basically. So in the case of your Dark Crystal videos, which I have to say, I have always been a little bummed out that there isn't more Dark Crystal roleplay sort of fantasy content out there, just, whether it's ASMR or not, just because the nature of it is so immersive and so fantastical and, grandiose, and just like every single shot is alien. It's somewhere else, and somewhere that you totally get sucked into. So it's definitely a franchise that is so well suited for what you do. And you discovered the series before the movie, right? What was your Dark Crystal journey like? Like, you saw the show and you were just inspired to make videos? What happened?
Basically, I didn't even know that the Dark Crystal movie existed. And And weirdly, I didn't have a connection in my brain that was like, oh, this looks like the Labyrinth movie, kind of, you know? I didn't, my brain didn't click. And I found the series, I think, wait, what year is it now? It's 2021. I found the series like
it came
just
out in
over
August
half a year
2019.
ago. Oh, see, okay, I found it a lot later then because
That's okay.
no, because I somehow thought that it was brand new when it aired, but obviously I hadn't like looked anything up beforehand.
Well, listen, everything in 2019 still feels brand new because
it does.
Everything after that is just kind of a blur and time stopped being a thing. So that's fair. And it is still being nominated for awards and still being talked about now. So
I saw that. Yeah.
Relevant. So it's not necessarily old news, really.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's really cool, actually, that you discovered it a little bit after it was new because
I had more fan out to go through then.
Because a lot in the fan community kind of get discouraged sometimes that, you know, it had this big momentum right at the beginning and then interest kind of started dropping off. And, you know, there's a lot of conjecture about, you know, that's why they ended up not renewing it for a second season because, you know, people weren't continuing to watch it. And you know, none of these are things that are really supported by public numbers. It's all just kind of people theorizing about what must have happened. But to hear that, you know, people were still finding it even after it was brand new and it wasn't necessarily trending anymore, but it was still being discovered anyway. And what's even more cool is that you were literally a brand new fan to the Dark Crystal franchise because you weren't even familiar with the movie. But you said you were familiar with Labyrinth, which is pretty common. So you were a big fan of Labyrinth already.
I mean, to be honest, I'd watched those films like a few times when I was little, and then I feel like, I mean, okay, like complete side note, but one of my favorite films is The Muppet Christmas Carol. So that entire world always was kind of like, oh, I love that. That's so sweet and wholesome and whatnot. And I don't know why I never connected it to the Dark Crystal. Like there was, I don't know, but when I found it on Netflix, it was always something that I had on my watch later like playlist, and I was like, I'll get around to it because I feel like this is something I want to give my full attention to.
Right. Yeah.
And one day I was just like, okay, you're just gonna like watch it, and as soon as the intro came on, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like this is like, hello, this is me as a this is my expansion of my brain. And then I obviously saw like the list of actors and actresses on there, and I was like, why didn't I know about this? Yeah. And as soon as I saw Deet, it was like, I have to make a video on this. Like,
so it was Deet that inspired you first.
Yeah, I mean, basically like the first few shots where you see her and her wings like flap up and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. And I don't know, I loved her characteristics and just her voice and her like innocence, I guess, and just her whole character itself. And then as soon as I got to the end of the first episode, I was like, what if I made a full like series of this? And then that kind of was in the back of my mind, and I thought, well, I don't know yet. And as soon as they cancelled the second season, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it.
I am the second season.
I am the second season. So, and then I started, I bought the book, Songs of the Seven Gelfling Clans.
Yes.
Or songs, I don't know.
It's songs.
Yeah. And I bought the, I don't know what title that is, but it's like a big making of book. It's very purple looking.
Yeah. The making of Age of Resistance book.
Yeah.
Like the big coffee table one.
Yes.
Yeah. It's behind my backdrop. It's there.
Oh, nice. And I also, I don't know if that's here right now. Oh yes, it is. Oh my god. The bestiary.
Bestiary. Oh, yeah. I very recently interviewed Eaters Compete, the artist who did all the art for that book and for lots of other things. And she's truly one of us. That would be I want to have her on again because we just nerded out about all things fairy and fantasy, and you can tell in her art that she really just she brought that world to life. So
it's beautiful. It really is.
So you went out and just decided to get the books after, because you loved the series so much, and you just were like, what else is there? So you got got the books.
I haven't actually read all the comics yet. I've read 2 of the 3 Beneath the Dark Crystal, and I haven't read any of the, because there's more about Deet and about Naya, I believe, and all those.
Well, what I was going to say was that the Songs of the Seven Gelfling Clans, which for anybody who hasn't checked out Haley's videos yet, she used you used basically that book and the story of the song teller traveling to the different clans and like getting all the knowledge about the 7 clans. You used that as like a framing mechanism for your videos. And you collaborated with another ASM artist to portray the song teller. So he started out at the beginning like writing out, his notes and sort of writing the book, and then so each of the videos the viewer is portraying the song teller from that book. And so that was like the first thing I was like, oh, when I talk to her, I need to know like whose idea was that. And then the name of that other artist is eluding me right now, which I
Tingle Smith.
Tingle Smith, thank you. That's right. Yeah, and he's wonderful as well.
He is.
A lot of really great videos, and he was perfect as a Gelfling.
I love what he did to his hair. I love that.
So shout out to Tingle Smith if you're listening. That was really well done portrayal of the song teller. But whose idea was that to I mean, how did that happen? You just were reading the book and you're like, oh, this makes sense organically. What happened there?
So what usually happens, my brain is usually all over the place. So I'll usually have like one little seed of an idea and then it explodes into this huge thing, and then I have to like compart it into this smaller thing that makes sense to other people. And
wait, there are people who don't think like that?
Right?
Wait a minute.
What do you mean?
Sorcery.
And I basically, when I read that book, I was like, that would be a cool idea, as to like not necessarily that exact character, because I believe the person the Gelfling that writes the story is female, so I figured I'd make just like my own version in a different time, because I wasn't quite sure when that was set, like if that was before Age of Resistance. I mean, it must have been, because they were still talking fondly of the Skeksis and whatnot. So I had that idea, and I was like, okay, well, how am I going to portray the other clans that didn't have as much showtime? Like, I made these little, which I actually never used in the video, or in the videos. I made this little, like, I don't know if that will show up very blue. I made a little, like, spear tip for the drenching, and I made a little, like, stonewood thingy.
Oh, it's their sigil. What did you make those out of?
Out of clay, and then I let them air dry, and I covered them in like golden paint.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I also have, which time-wise wouldn't have made sense, I realized I wanted to make the book, I don't know what that book is called, when Breya says, I demand the truth, and then it opens, and that triangular so I wanted to make the cover, and then because this was like a little thingy,
we affectionately refer to that as the croissant in this community, because
the croissant
looks like
so I made I also made this one's kind of breaking, but these were like 4 things that this was for the Sprighton.
The Sprighton clan.
Right. And I completely forgot to use them when filming, and it really annoyed me, because I was like,
well, now you're showing them here, and for any of you who are just listening to this, go to our YouTube channel and watch this so you can see those, because they're cool. So that's so you're the visual aspect of your creations. It's just like a very, very crucial part of it, because it would be very easy, I imagine, to just rely on your voice to do most of the work for you, because even just talking to you now, you naturally have just a very like chill sort of Deet voice of,
Thank
you know,
you.
this person is friendly and calm, and I would, you know, trust her
And I
with
live
my
in a
life.
cave.
But I mean, I
In my
wasn't going to go
basement.
there, but sure. A friendly cave dweller. That's your aesthetic. You're
Yes.
welcome. Yeah, but you, the visual aspect of your videos is very, very impressive. And
Thank you.
that's not easy to accomplish when it comes specifically to the dark crystal, because
Mhm.
it is such a specific look, and it is
Yeah.
very all encompassing. It's everywhere.
Mhm.
And it would be very easy to sort of cross over into the realm of just looking weird and not right.
Yeah.
It has to have just that right amount
Mhm.
of fantasy and weird at the same time
Yeah.
happening. And I think you did a really good job walking that line. And I know
Thank
originally
you.
you were going to do 7 entire videos for
Yeah.
each of the clans, and you ended up doing 5.
I did one finale with the last 3 clans, so
Right.
that must have been, yeah, because I figured it would be kind of a little drawn out, because I feel like it always has to have a, like, just from my perspective, I wanted it to be a story that, yeah, that isn't drawn out, and it's kind of, I don't know how to explain, but for my Stonewood Gelfling, I thought it would just be fun to have like this final conversation with the songteller. And I don't know, I thought if that were like a 30-minute video, that might be a bit long, because it would just be like reliving what has happened in the last videos.
Right.
And I don't know, I was just very nitpicky at my own ideas. But it was definitely a challenge to create like a world within, because we never went to the Drenchen clan, to the Swamp of Sog, and we never went to the well, we did, but not to like the base of the clan. I don't think
we traveled over the Crystal Desert.
Yes.
But we didn't really hang out there for very long.
So it was difficult to create backgrounds, because I was like, well, I want this to look realistic, but I was really, really adamant about not really wanting to use a green screen. For Deet, I had to, but it was like, like, I tend to be very perfectionist, especially if it's something that is very much loved and very like close to people's hearts. So it's like, I don't want to mess it up.
For several reasons. My favorite of the series was actually where you portrayed Annika.
Oh yeah.
One, I already love that character very much. And right off the bat, when they first were revealing things about the different clans, I identified with the Siphon clan very, very quickly.
I feel like they're the most inclusive of everyone.
They absolutely are. Right? They kind of were ahead of the game, you know, before all the clans decide to sort of unify. They were already kind of doing that a little bit.
Yeah.
But also you're talking about how you didn't want to use a green screen, but what I liked about your sort of Siphon background is that there was a lot of like draped fabrics and like layered textures behind you. And that makes perfect sense, because that's sort of, you know, their little homes when they sort of set up camp on the beach. They have their tents with all the draped fabrics. You know, it's almost very like Romani inspired. And which is a community that I've actually spent a lot of time with personally, and it really I think that makes a lot of sense, like choices like that you make visually, like because it could be very easy to rely on a green screen. I am relying on a green screen right now, so you can see my laundry mess behind me, but but choices like that, you know, it made it feel like you were really taking us, you know, to a place that you really were. You weren't just, you know, giving us some sort of trickery. Which of the videos ended up being your favorite one, looking back on?
I would say also Annika and Deet, because well, Deet simply because I love the character, but also it was the first time I tried on huge contact lenses, and I was terrified of them, and I was like, I have to do it for this character. But Annika, because I don't know, I guess I like the vibe of it, and the I don't know, I really wanted to create something where I thought, okay, if this were real and it were portrayed by real people, then I would want that to be what I have in my mind. And I feel like I like Brea as well, but it was, I don't know, I'm just nitpicking, but yeah, I like the Drenchen look that I did. I don't know. I kind of like them all, but I'd say Annika and Deet are probably my favorites.
Would you say that it was more fun and or more challenging to portray characters that were already in the show, like playing Deet or playing Annika, or do you think you preferred creating your own characters like you did for like the Deucin clan, for example, where you created a whole new Gelfling?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it was in a way easier to have characters that were already there because I can kind of work with the tone of how they speak and the like the way they move and the way they like Breya gets excited really quickly in that scene, like she does at the beginning of the series. And I don't know. I guess like creation wise, it was pretty open to me what to do. So I think the most difficult part with the existing characters was getting the costumes right because there's no pattern I can sew things by, and I'm also not very good at sewing. But I mean the wigs were pretty simple, but the clothing it's so specific and so just like every episode I watched, I was always like, oh my god, look at the fabric, it's so beautiful. Look at it.
Like, so many layers and textures. Fabric is such a huge part of Gelfling culture.
I had to go online and look up all these different fabric places because well, first of all, we were in a tight lockdown for most of the time, so I was like, I can't even go anywhere to get fabrics. Indeed. So I had to kind of look up stuff online that somewhat looked like the original a little bit, which is one of the reasons I would have found it easier to order things from the US, but obviously shipping was difficult as well. So, but yeah.
And you are based in Germany, right?
Yeah.
For any listeners who were unclear about that. I very rarely have guests who are on my same side of the planet. which I think is pretty cool. That the time difference always trips me out. But so you're based in Germany, so you had to do, sometimes is that an issue that you face a lot of the time, having to have specific things shipped and they only come from far away?
All the time. Like when it comes down to fabrics or just I don't know, even if it's audio equipment. I mean, most of the time, like microphone is fine, but like, I guess fabrics and good wigs and just things that are very specific. Because I feel like although there's a lot of options here where you can buy things, it's either really, really expensive or it's just too toned down for me. I need things that are more vibrant and that have more texture and more like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
So you created an entirely new character for the Deucin clan, for example.
Yes.
What was the process of creating new characters like for you? Did you have ideas right off the bat of, what kind of character you thought you were going to make, or what was the seed that exploded?
So basically when I looked at, there's that scene where Celadon is introduced as like the new Almordra, or they're like discussing whether or not she should be.
Right.
And I think the only Mordra who wasn't there was probably Mordra Argot, I think, I believe.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to get everything mixed up now. So when I don't know their names, unfortunately, but
the Deucin Mordra?
The Deucin, Sprighton and Drenchen and Seaford, they were all like in this room together. Right. And I just looked at all these, like sometimes just a fabric can inspire something. And when I was looking at the costume out, I was just like, God, there's like a whole backstory to why they look like this. And like, for example, the Drenchen, like their facial features and stuff. And I believe it said in one of the books that their wings were more like amphibian so that they could swim better and that kind of thing. So,
and they have gills.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was easy and it wasn't, I guess, because I didn't want to, having not read all the comics, I didn't want to make a mistake that would be like, oh, this is obvious that you're not a real fan or whatever.
No. Listen, I forget the names of stuff all the time, not for lack of knowing them. They exist in there somewhere. But I just have squirrel brain. That's why I watch ASMR videos, and I go all over the place, and I get so like overexcited thinking about all the different things I want to talk about that like my brain will decide for me what is and is not important for me to remember in that moment, and names are like the first thing to go. So it is not an indication of how big of a fan you are, nor is
I actually have. Oh wait, where did I put it? Hang on, I have
more treasures. She's gonna bring out more treasures now.
I have the deep wig. I just realized.
Oh, look at that!
So this was. It looks very, but.
But I would know immediately that was. So, how did you make your deep wig? Obviously you didn't get a wig that was already a deep wig, because there's no way that exists.
This was actually at the very beginning. It was like a curly blonde wig, so I straightened it completely, and then I put the little braids in, and I did my very first fishtail braid, which I was proud of. And then I kind of cut the fringy bit and then poofed it up at the back a little bit. I was actually thinking of adding like wool to make it more, I guess, textured, but then I thought, But I was going to show the Doosan thingy, but I think I have to roll my chair away.
Yeah.
A second. I'm alive.
And
I
what
survived
treasures have you brought from your adventure?
The little Doosan headpiece, which is kind of falling to bits, but it makes nice sounds. Anyway.
For your original Doosan character, she created a little headpiece, and it has bones all over it.
It does. It has bones and little beads out of clay and all sorts of stuff. And I figured I would, because that was also a thing with the Doosan, because it said that they kind of like wrap up because of the heat and stuff. And I was like, well, how am I going to like cover? I don't know. It was a difficult process, but then I just threw something together. I didn't really sketch anything. I was just like, I want beads and I want bones, but I don't want to use real ones. So I had to make my own bones.
So you were inspired, your Doosan character, by the Madra. Yes. Madra Sydnni is the Madra of the Doosan clan, and she's one of my favorite puppet designs. I wish we had gotten more of her, because of when they first were giving us hints and teases of different puppets before the show dropped, and they showed us Madra Sydnni with her beautiful facial tattoos and that headpiece she has on. I was like, yes, that is one of the most beautiful puppets I've ever seen in my life.
And also the pearlescent like shimmer on her skin. I was like, I want that in real life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So understandable that would inspire you to do, for informing the style of the character that you created. But then in terms of, the mannerisms of the character and the events of the video, sort of like we're doing a tattoo, like a temporary tattoo to protect you from the sun while you're in the crystal desert. Like what was the process like of coming up with those ideas? Was it just sort of like you think of one thing and then it would be the next, like on top of it? How did that work out?
Basically I'm trying to go through the ones that I did, like in which I can only think of the German word. In what order? There we go. My brain does that sometimes. So I figured, like, what are the main things that the clans, like within the clan, what they're known for, like what they do. And so for the Doosan, I was like, okay, well, supposedly they don't really speak much because it's hot and they want to, like, but I was like, well, I can't really do a video where I don't say anything. So I then
it makes sense organically why you would be whispering in that video. I loved that little reasoning you came up with. Like, it's a whisper video because we're conserving energy in the heat. That's like, I had to stop from chilling out and pause it and just be like, that's a dang good idea. Smart.
Actually, for the spread, and I was a weeny bit disappointed because, I mean, it was just like a basic like measuring thing for the festival of the, what did I say it was? Was it something? Was it something to do with the sun, or was it something with the rose? I cannot remember anymore what I said.
I think it was the sun, the festival of the three suns, I think.
Oh yeah. And originally I planned to do like a full scene with make-believe foods that they would make. That's why like ages back I was like, I would love to see a cookbook based on, but I thought, well, I kind of don't want to waste, because I was going to make like a huge set with loads of dishes, and then I was like, I kind of don't want to waste food, and I don't know if it would take too long in one filming session. So I ended up like making it a measuring thing. But I really would have liked to make things with different fruits from from those areas, and I also wanted to include like huyam, like fish, in the seafoam video.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I don't know if that would go together. But yeah, and for the drenching, I also wanted to make that video longer, but things happened and I had loads of other things that I had to get done, and then it was like a bit of a time thing. So that's why the the top of the spear never got attached to the spear. But
that's okay.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know. I pretty much just wrote down like characteristics of each clan and was like, okay, how can I incorporate that into something relaxing?
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of pieced things together. And I figured the song teller narrative would kind of pull them into a direction that makes sense story-wise, and that people could easily follow along even if they didn't necessarily know the show.
Yeah. Yeah,
or the
definitely.
film.
Something I think is cool about your series is the fact that maybe somebody might come across it who isn't familiar with the Dark Crystal, and it leads them to then discover the show and discover the movie.
That's already happened.
Yeah.
I've had a few comments. That was so sweet. They were like, oh my God, I have to watch it now. And I was like, yes.
So now you're doing the good work that we're trying to do. Like half of this, the issue of why probably we didn't get a season 2 is just the fact that it's so difficult seemingly to get new fans who maybe are hesitant at the idea of a show where everyone's a puppet. Just the concept of it is like so weird to people who don't normally consume that kind of content. And we know, because we're fans and we know how awesome it is, that if they would just watch it, they'd get sucked in. And because after maybe like 5 minutes, you start to sort of not even think about the characters as puppets because there's so much.
You forget.
Yeah. Unless, of course, something, especially artistic about the puppets distracts you as an artist and you think, wow, that's a great puppet. There's little moments of that. But at the same time, that just adds to the experience. But so anyway, a lot of us have this issue where we're like, I've been trying to get my family to watch it. I had this, I sat down and I forced my brother to watch it, and now he's a fan. But so many people, they need a push to just put it on and try something new.
I forced my mum as well, and she watched 2 episodes and she was like, there are too many names, I can't focus, I can't do it. I tried. But my girlfriend loves it now, so that's another person, so that's good.
Oh, wonderful. Yay. See, so you're doing the Lord's work.
Yes.
The Lord of
I made it my mission.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So you have a lot of things that you're like, oh, I wish I had done this, or, I didn't get to include this little thing. Maybe you ran into time issues. Do you see yourself maybe utilizing those ideas in the future and doing another Dark Crystal related video, just, not necessarily as a part of the series, but just to return to it when inspiration strikes, maybe?
I think so. I mean, there were some ideas that I had where I was like, I definitely want to do that as well, but I figured that would be too long of a series. I'd have to make like a separate channel or something to do all that. But I'm sure in the future I'll probably do a video where I wash the viewer's face and they're a podling, so I'm in the order of lesser service.
Listen, I love that. And
also the hat would make nice sounds because it's got
I was
tingling
gonna
bits.
say that exact thing. Like, that would be fun for you to make that little hat, but then it would make nice little jingly sounds.
Exactly.
All right, listen, that's great. Make that happen. But then also, have you since watched the movie, since discovering the show? Have you gotten to watch the movie yet?
Yes, I actually bought actually no, it was gifted to me on my birthday a while back. So I was gifted this like 2-set like DVD thing with the Dark Crystal and the Labyrinth. And so it was like a full movie day. And And it was definitely interesting because I'd seen clips of it. I knew what had happened at the end. I, for some reason, always thought that Kira just dies. And I always thought that was the reason why people were so upset with the movie at the end. And then I was like, oh my God, she gets to live. Also, the bit where the Fizz gig almost dies, that broke my heart because I thought,
down the fire pit.
Wait a minute. Yes.
No.
No. It's like when I'm watching films with with people and then it's something that hurts the animals, I'm more upset about the animals getting hurt.
Ask anybody who knows me. I'm actually gonna plug something I'm not affiliated with, but I use every day. DoesTheDogDie.com.
I know, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I never watch a movie without checking it because it tells you whether or not an animal is harmed in a movie before you watch it. Like really straight to the point, just tells you like yes or no. Gives like
I think they do it with video games now as well.
Yeah. So important because I'll watch human beings get mutilated in fiction all day long and watch horror movies. That's fine. But don't touch
if you
the
hurt
dog.
The dog, no.
Do not hurt that Fizz gig. There will be problems. I will never watch your movie again. So
it's so unnecessary also. I don't understand why filmmakers do it. It's like, why did you just want to piss me off? Or am I allowed? Oh, sorry.
But what's interesting is, that they still managed to create an emotional moment at the end of the movie there where you think, for all intents and purposes, Kira does die in that moment. And it is a very serious, very emotional, to the point that even though Jen just watched the world get healed in front of him and he watched the Skeksis merge and he knows that the crystal is healed and technically he's completed his mission, he almost like doesn't care about it because he's just so sad that he's lost Kira. So the emotion is absolutely there. Even though they ultimately bring her back. But if they hadn't brought her back, that would have completely just tainted the entire tone of the ending. Then we wouldn't have cared that the world got saved either. We'd care more about Kira. Because really,
it's like, I don't care that the grass is green again.
Jen is painted out to be the hero, but we know Kira is really the heart of the movie. Which leads into my next question, which I've asked you separately in private, but do you think you would do a video based on the movie as opposed to Age of Resistance? Maybe where you portray Kira?
Definitely. I don't know what kind of theme of the video it would be, but now that I've gone that far, I'm definitely probably going to do that as well. Because I'd have to get the costume right and all that.
But anyhow, I think if you did a video as Kira, it would your energy would be very well suited for it because you portray such a good Deet.
Thank you.
And you have such a Deet vibe about you. And I feel like Kira and Deet are so similar.
They are. They really are. Yeah. I remember also because we just talked about the scene where she died. Where not Deet, where Kira. There we go. Where Kira dies in that moment. I remember watching the scene with my girlfriend who also hadn't seen the film, and at that point, because they'd been through so much, she just went like, oh wow, I hate this movie. It's just like, oh wow, I wasted my time. And then obviously when she then gets revived, she was very happy, but it was also very much with Deet at the end of Age of Resistance. So I was like, why the baby? Like, why? I don't understand.
And that's kind of the biggest reason why we the biggest thing we want to see resolved in another season that people are the most up in arms about is that we need to heal Deet now. And as we've discussed in our videos about what we think is going to happen next in the story if there was going to be a season 2, I've basically landed on that the focus of it would be them trying to sort of heal the darkening in Deet and save Deet and that sort of thing. And we need to see that story in some form or another.
Definitely. I remember seeing someone posted a theory online. One of the people in this chat was saying, well, I think the reason why not that many people watched it is because it's a prequel and they know what happens later on in the movie. But I was like, there's this scene where Aughra says something like, this could be like completely far-fetched, but Aughra says something like, I see all the paths before me or something.
Mhm.
And I was like, is this like a parallel dimension theory or something where maybe they don't all die? Because
Maybe.
it would obviously be a very, very sad ending to that second season if it did come out eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, that was an interesting theory for me because there have been so many franchises that have parallel dimensions where things, you know, are different. So in my heart, that's,
you know, there's so much about the rest of Thra that we don't necessarily know about either. And you know, when Jen first meets Kira, they both are convinced up until that point that they were the last one, and they were wrong. So it is highly possible that the rest of the Gelfling aren't necessarily all dead. They could just be somewhere else.
In hiding, or
there's still a question to be answered there at that point. So it's not necessarily that we know what happens. We know what happens according to the Skeksis, really. We know their version of the story, and we know how reliable they are in terms of storytelling. You know, they lie about everything. So yeah, absolutely agree. But think on what you might do if you played Kira, because Kira, as all of the listeners know, is my girl. That's my princess. There's probably a tally somewhere of people taking note of how many times I mentioned the fact that my cat is named Kira.
A dark crystal bingo.
My everything. Make a drinking game every time Sydnni mentions her cat. Take a shot.
I might even be able to use the same wig. Actually, another thing that I wanted to show, which is so random, but I was actually thinking about making a little fizz gig, but then I ended up, again, because of the fabric, there was no way I could create anything. But what I wanted to show was, even like shortly before I watched Age of Resistance, I'd made, because I tend to watch The Muppet Christmas Carol even in summer because I'm just that person. But so I was like, I should make a Muppet. Like, I should make one, and or I should make like my own version of something. So I made this little thing called Mr. Ploofy Puff. Wait a minute.
I am beside myself waiting to see Mr. Ploofy Puff.
I can't get my hand into his mouth properly. He's not sewn very well. I mean, well, let me just. Okay, so here he is. Okay.
Excuse me. He is wonderful. I officially demand, if you are listening to this podcast right now and not watching it, get out, download this to listen to it later, get out and go to the video and watch this so you can see, or maybe I'll post screenshots of Mr. Ploofy Puff in the description, so people, there's no way around it. The world needs to know.
He's actually in a video. He's in I made like a Halloween special last year, and he was I made like a monster hotel thing where I'm the receptionist and I check in this monster person, and then I get phone calls in from some of the people that are living in the hotel. And so Mr. Ploofy Puff, or Mr. Ploof, he is one of the assistants. So it's kind of been memed a bit, and he goes around.
Plans are sorted.
It's called Welcome to the Monstel.
Okay.
And basically he goes from room to room, and then he has a tiny little notepad. And he's like, hello. And he has that voice. So he has the Uwu voice. Do you need help? And so he became a bit of a meme on my channel. And so I just wanted to talk about that because
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, and you made a Muppet.
It was a shame that I couldn't make a fizz gig on time because, again, the fabric issue, and also I don't know how the noises could have been relaxing. So,
what if? Okay, now we're gonna brainstorm your Kira video, because I just had a great idea. What if the video was about Kira trying to put a fizz gig to sleep? Like maybe the audience, maybe you are the fizz gig. And you're like grooming the hair and, you know, trying to get the fizz gig to relax. I'm like, shh, no, calm down. And maybe you would have your own.
And you can see some fluff in the corners of the view, like.
Yeah. and you could, make your own puppet Fizzgig that is sleeping,
Yes.
and you'd be like, see, be more like your brother.
Oh, that would be so cute.
Yeah. So, just add that into your
I love
notebook.
that.
Think about it. Toy around with some ideas. I won't need a check or anything. I'm happy to know it exists.
Oh, that would be adorable. I need all the fabric. I just want to make more.
Yeah. So you are definitely our people, fellow creator, puppet enthusiast,
Yes. Very
fabric
much
nerd.
so.
A lot of fabric nerds among us Dark Crystal fans.
Yeah,
because
I could
so
spend all
much
day in a fabric shop. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in terms of when you're going to make a video, starting from here's my idea for a video, here's, I'm going to sit down and write it out, what I want to do, up until, getting everything that I need for the video. Is it basically more or less the same process of creating a video for all the videos, or is it different depending on what you're doing?
It depends. Like if it's just a regular, like, I don't know, alien abduction medical checkup kind of thing, then it's pretty much just me rambling and being like, okay, we have to check this, and like it ends up being half an hour every time somehow. But
your internal clock is
yeah,
on.
yeah. I'm usually like checking on the like what do you call it, on the recorder. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, half an hour. So I don't really need any preparation time for that. But if I'm planning out something that has because those are like original characters, and a medical thing, there's no really a thing to go by unless you want to be like super precise with the names of things. But if I want to do, for example, one of my next things that I plan to do, which is probably again way too much thought into going into it, I wanted to make a video, like a measuring you video for a wizard cape for, do you know Ni no Kuni, the game?
Yes. Yeah.
I basically wanted to make I wanted to make the little wizard's compendium, and I wanted to make the little flask where he has all those little emotions in, or like the little heart bits. So if I'm doing that, I have to think about what set to use, because I'm not going to use green screen for that. I have like a backdrop that looks like wooden panels.
Okay.
And I thought I could I could go to Ding Dong Dell or whatever it's called, and be just a person who helps the main character Oliver like dress more appropriate for their world and stuff. So if I'm doing that kind of thing, it takes like, I don't know, 3 days or something. But if I'm doing something like, I don't know, I did a Harry Potter themed Diagon Alley project ages ago, and that took a few months because I did multiple characters.
You played a lot of different characters in that one, right?
You
were like
and I made
6
a little
different witches.
Yeah, and I made a little what are they called again? I can again only think of the German name.
The wands? Or...
No, the little in herbology class, the things that scream. What are they? Mandrakes. Yeah. I made a little mandrake, and unfortunately it broke because I gave it to my parents to put into the garden, and then they had a hailstorm, and literally like a week later, no. And then his face was left like.
I hate it when the weather kills my mandrakes. It's the worst.
It's the worst.
But at least he's quiet now.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do each of the Dark Crystal videos? From, were they all sort of different because they were different levels of difficulty, or was it kind of a system?
I think the one that probably took the longest, makeup wise, was Deet, definitely, because I didn't know how to like block my eyebrows and stuff, and also apply paint on top. I didn't know how to do that, and I had to sew the costume, which people thought kind of looked like Shrek, where I was like, no, that's not what I'm going for.
You know what? I blame our generation for just thinking Shrek anytime they see green. I don't think that was your fault. I didn't think you looked like Shrek at all. I just blame our meme generation for that. It was definitely Deep. Pay no mind to the trolls.
Because I was like, I even put the holes in the arms like she has.
Yeah.
But I think for the setup, I'd say probably, I don't know if it probably was Onika, because I usually do like even bigger sets than that, but I also didn't want people to not focus on the makeup aspect. and like get too lost in the background.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to juggle, but I'd definitely say Annika probably took the longest with draping all the fabric and like clamping it onto the like thing that I have that holds my green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically
How long
anything
did that
with
one take from drafting the ideas up until actually sitting down and filming? How long was that process, would you say?
Well, I pretty much filmed everything kind of in bits. So if there were like, I don't know, like scenes of her touching the little box and like lighting the candle, like I would do that a month prior. And then, so I'd say the whole project took about 4 months or so. I think all together, but I also put things off all the time because I'm like, no, that's not good enough. Like I can't film that character today.
Yeah, that's part of the process. That's absolutely part of it.
Yeah, I think if I really tried hard, I could have probably done it in like 2 weeks or so. Right. But I tend to just like draw things out because I get too perfectionist, and yeah.
That is the way of the artist, though. So I definitely understand.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, then, as from one old school Dark Crystal fan to a new sort of Dark Crystal baby, my recommendations to you now for what to explore next in the series. If you were a fan of the Song of the Gelfling Clans books that inspired your series, I would highly recommend you get the young adult novels. Then they're written by the same writer, J.M. Lee, who's been a guest on our show. But they're amazing novels. There's 4 of them, and they're wonderful. The Shadows of the Dark Crystal is the first one. And they take place at the same time as Age of Resistance, but from the perspective of different characters. So it's like you're seeing the same events happen, but like in different parts of Thra. For example, 2 of the books are from the perspective of Naya, is the main character. And so there's a lot more time spent in the swamp of Sog. There's time spent everywhere. Like if you came away from Age of Resistance feeling like, I wish we had been in the swamps more, I wish we had been in the deserts more and seen more of the culture. Though these books definitely they do that for you. They take you everywhere. So the young adult novels from by J.M. Lee, Shadows of the Dark Crystal, that's where you need to go next. And then also the Creation Myths comics, which are about like way before Age of Resistance, about like the creation of Thra.
With the
Urskax and Rounip and so that's my next step for you, I think, where you should go next if you're itching for more Dark Crystal or more inspiration for more content. That's definitely where you should head next. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners were like already ready to make comments about go read the YA novels, go get Creation Myths, blah blah. So I got you covered, nerds. Don't worry about it.
I'll have more to inspire me to make more.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. I think that about covers everything, and I'm so glad that you were able to come and hang out with me today. And
thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so excited. It is so awesome that we're able in this community to mutually support each other and to hype each other up in our own creative endeavors. And it's us doing things like this that keep the franchise going and make it so that it's always relevant and it's never fully over, no matter what they cancel. It's not dead, it's not done, it's still happening. And we have, even
ballet to look forward to now.
The ballet now, like how crazy is that? Like,
I know,
I'm so excited. I need to find a way to get to England because that's worth it. I'm absolutely like, I cannot wait to see if they end up putting that in theaters or anything, if they
that would be really
post
cool.
it somewhere to buy if you're not able to get to London. But just the fact that it exists, more Dark Crystal content is there. The world is never fully done.
Is it based on the events in the film, or is it based
That's sort of unclear. I mean, we don't have that much information about, as of the time that we're recording this anyway. Whenever this gets posted, that might change, hopefully. But at the time that we're recording this, the official statement that they released just like 2 days ago, basically just said, you know, based on the movie, but incorporating new puppets and expands on it a little. So like it was written kind of vaguely. So it's like it hinted that maybe it was based on the movie, except that it's called the Odyssey of the Dark Crystal, or Dark Crystal Odysseys. So it's like it's probably more than the movie, but we don't know exactly how much more. So I'm very excited to find out to find out more about that. And we also don't know exactly when it's happening. We just know it's sometime either at the end of this year or next year, because it's the 2021-2022 season. So who knows? We're all on the edge of our seats waiting on them. So maybe they'll send us tickets. You and me will go.
Yeah. That would be really nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. For any listeners, I mean, we're going to link everything in the description where Haley's channel is, but she's OopsyDaisy ASMR. You can find her on YouTube, on Instagram. Where else? Where else do you want to direct our listeners to find you?
I do Twitch. That's not role plays. That's just like live stream stuff.
But it's you.
It's me. What did we mention? Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, which I post like behind the scenes stuff, and I think that's it. Awesome. I have Teespring, but that's not important.
I mean, anything you want to plug so we can support you, I will not shame you at all. Go for it, please.
Oh no, the others are more important than the Teespring. That's very outdated. That's like very old artwork. We're just going to ignore that.
If it makes you $1 and supports you, I'm fine with it. So yeah, we'll link everything in the description below. If you're listening to this, make sure you go check out this video on YouTube, so you can see the amazing creations that Haley has shown off, including Mr. Fluff.
Ploofy Puff.
Ploofy Puff. Clearly the highlight of this whole episode. Anyway, so thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time on Trial by Stone. I've been Sydney. Thanks so much for listening.